Hi, everybody. How are you? I will open with this. I just had a thought. I have a new puppy, and he is 5 months old, and his name is Toby. And I said, regardless of what happens, there is someone who will be really grateful after today. It will be him, because he heard this all weekend, and he is so tired of hearing this. He is like, I'm so over you walking back and forth in your living room, practicing this, whatever you're doing, because there are no treats involved, there are no commands, and I just honestly am really tired. So I think Toby, if anybody, will be really, really excited about what happens after today. So before I get started, I got the email from Beanie in like September. So like anything can happen in September. You don't really think about November and September, right? Oh, hey, do you want to speak at the professional development conference? Yeah, sure. That's an email you can write any day of the week, right? And then November gets here and you're like, oh, I gotta go. What? Wait, for real? So thanks, Beanie, for sending that email. That has really created some really good feelings in my belly this morning. So here's what Beanie asked me to do. She said, you have 20 minutes to do kind of a TED Talk style talking about the future of social justice. That's so easy, because take something that's really complex and layered and has really big words like collusion and intersectionality and is hard, and there's a lot of feelings and emotions, and do that in 20 minutes and tell us what the future of that is. That should be great, right? Yay, totally easy. And here's the problem. Most of my thinking is done in the most inconvenient times. In the 3 moments that I'm really, really brilliant, I mean, I'm so smart when I'm in the shower, when I'm on a run, and when I'm washing dishes, where I can write nothing down. Nothing. I swear to you, I have created cures for diseases. I have signed peace treaties in my head, and I remember none of it. So it's hard out there for a thinker, an inconvenient thinker. So here's what I had to do. So it was a TED Talk style, so I had to Google how to give a good TED Talk, because you got to do your research. And it's like you got to have one clear message that's simple, that people take away, and you got to be engaging and real and hopefully funny. So far, the jury's still out. So they said you got to have one thing. It's like a sentence. It's one thought that people walk away with. And I said, well, that's good. It'll permeate through the white noise that is my brain as I deep condition all my curly hair. So that's the good thing. And so what I thought would be helpful and a real kind of nod to the work that is inclusion work and social justice work, it's all about storytelling. I love stories. I love that I learn by not only sharing my story, but I learn even more by hearing what other people have to share with me. And it's my favorite part of this work, that every day something happens where someone goes, well, here's what I think about that, or here's what I experience. And that's what I love about this work. And so if you'll indulge me, I'd love to start off with a story. And I mean, really, I'm up here, so what are you going to do? Stop me. Let me get to part of what will help me kind of know my story. So, every good story needs a protagonist, a heroine, if you will. Someone who, against all odds, must succeed. There must be something that they push through, that is something that is insurmountable. But wait, there, out of the clear blue sky comes Trey and saves the day, and something good happens because she was here and that was good, and we care about her, and things happen, and yay, and credits roll, and you have popcorn and you're good. Right? You need a heroine. So I've given you a heroine. It's me. I star in my own story. Again, I have the mic, so what are you going to do? You need a supporting cast. There are, the billing, I come before the credits. Trey Boynton, high title. I get the good credits. And then the people in the supporting cast with Jillian Boynton, my daughter, who at the time was 7, and Jacqueline Boynton, who was 5 at the time that this took place. And then it stars my co-parent, my ex-husband. We'll kid him a little bit later. And then we have with my mother, and the and is always like the really big star, the veteran star, my grandmother, right? So that's kind of the opening credits of what happens, right? So you need an opening supporting cast. And so you also need, right, a villain, okay? Something that is just scary, thwarting us left and right. Oh, it's the Voldemort. It is the Joker. It is bad people that just show up in movies at the most inopportune times. No, don't do that. So we need a protagonist and a villain. And I got a villain for you. And I mean, it's scary. It is insidious. It is pervasive. It plagues our children. I guarantee you, once I tell you what it is, you will have a physical, visceral reaction to it. Literally, the room will start doing something all at the same time. So I'm going to tell you its name, and this is the scientific name, okay? It's scary. Who can pronounce that? I mean, that's even scary in and of itself. I had to look it up. Here's what the villain was. This is the scientific name for lice. Right? Oh, Bree did it first. Eric did it second. You start scratching, right? Like, that's the visceral reaction you have for lice, right? And so I'm going to tell you a story about lice, and I promise you that this will have something to do with social justice. Okay, this is the scientific name for the villain. It's a horrid villain. So in the daily life that is being a parent, you come home and it's like the Tasmanian devil. It's like a tornado of activity. We've got homework, we've got dinner, we've got how was your day? We have to do a dance party because that's just kind of something we do. You got to dance the stress out. You have to kind of like check in with people and make sure. And as a parent, you're kind of listening for key phrases throughout the evening. And everything else is kind of white noise. So I listen for kind of 4 key things. Oh, that's bleeding. Oh, mommy would be so mad if you did that. What's that for? And then, oh, that broke. Like, that's what I listen for. Like, I don't interrupt anything else unless those 4 phrases get uttered. And so I'm not listening to anything. So when they say, mommy, my head is itchy, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. And you have like pink socks on. Go, yeah, that's fine. So, mommy, my head is itchy. Mommy, my head is itchy. It's like a theme throughout the night. And I'm like, well, what? Let's get some lotion in there, or just like dry scalp. What's going on? And then I remember that I got a notice from the principal. The school went out that there was a lice outbreak. But I'm like, black people don't get lice. Like, what? I never had lice. Like, what is that? Black people don't get lice. My kids are multiracial. My co-parent is white. And so I was like, well, 50-50. What are they going to do? They're not going to get it. So anyway, their heads are itchy. And so I go into, I call them over and I'm like, well, what am I looking for? And I Google it and I'm immediately skeeved out. I mean, it's disgusting. It's like these little bugs that are in your hair. I didn't include a picture because I wanted to be nice to you today. So I go into Jillian's hair and I part the first part and there's a bug going, hey, how you doing? Come in, the water's great. I mean, a bug is crawling through my daughter's hair. Immediately I get the vapors, my knees buckle, and I'm like, oh, what is this world? So I'm freaking out. I go into Jacqueline's head and it's like Game of Thrones. They've set up, they're like competing for real estate on Jacqueline's head. It's like dragons and Daenerys is there and like people are like, she's had lice for a while, okay? I know, right? Like you're like totally skeeved out. This has got to get better, I promise. Okay, so she's got like lice and I'm like, what do I do? I know nothing about this. So I go to Google and I'm like, lice, fix it. So the first solution is an ad on Google and I'm like, whatever it is, let's do it. It's this thing that has the video and it kills lice immediately and you don't have to do all this stuff. And it is, I think for 8 ounces, I think $200. What in the Sam? I'm in crisis and you want me to spend $400. I'm in not that much crisis because no, that's too much money. So then the next thing is you can go to this place that does a service that you can get the lice taken out. Great, let's do that tomorrow, first thing in the morning. That's $150 per kid. Right? So I'm either spending $300 or like $600 to get this stuff out of. And then I Google and it's like, go to the store and they have these home kits and you're supposed to do all this stuff, right? So I immediately, just because I'm stressed out, what do? You call your mom. And Mommy, the kids have lice. What are you talking about? We don't get lice. And again, I have to go through that with her again, and we're talking about that. And then, and she goes, oh, well, yeah, I guess you have lice. What do you do? And I'm Googling, and she's like, ew, that's not helpful. Again, support, not challenge right now. So we're going to, the girls have not moved. I said, don't move, because lice jumps. What? Why does it jump from person? Who jumps? What villain has this that jumps from people? It's horrible. So go to the drugstore, don't touch anything, come back, strip the children, because everything that has cloth on it must be washed or vacuumed. Think for a minute throughout your house. How many things have cloth on it? So many things have cloth on it. So we start bagging up stuffed animals, stripping beds. Children are like deloused. The chemicals are in all of our hair. And I'm vacuuming the bunk bed. I'm 6 feet tall and I'm on the top of a bunk bed with a vacuum. Get that visual for a minute. So I'm vacuuming here and it's horrible and I'm stressed out. And then of course, because my family is the best thing about having bad news travel fast, Nana calls. Nana is 90 years old and feisty. And she says, "Baby, I heard you have bugs in the child's hair. Why are you not cleaning your house to get what is going on? Why have your house? I taught you better than this. Girl, you know you're supposed to clean that house. I don't understand. We don't raise you like that." She is yelling at me. Like the shame spiral that I then descend into is just horrid. I'm like, oh my God, my mother badge is coming, Child Protective Services is coming, because like I said, it's Game of Thrones in there. So it's horrible, and I said, Nana, it's not my fault. I mean, like when I Googled it, what is the Google? I don't get, where do you get all those answers on the Google? And so she's yelling at me about internet. So then fast forward, you have to go through every single hair on every single head. You have to kill the actual bug. And then the eggs are glued to the hair. You need a fine tooth comb. You need to go through strand by strand. Do you know how many strands are on the human head? They are so many. And it takes you 3 hours per kid, my kids. So the girls are up until 2 o'clock in the morning. They can't go to school the next day. So I have to write Linda, my boss, and say, hey there, not coming in because the kids have lice, and that's what I really want to tell my boss. And again, just really kind of having this life-altering occurrence. 20 loads of laundry, cleaned the entire house, vacuumed everything, literally was up until 5 o'clock in the morning. I am at like DEFCON 5. I need like CDC coming in and like quarantining off the house. I was supposed to have friends over that day. I told them, don't come, save yourselves. Don't come here. It's not safe for you. Stay home where it's lice-free. All of that stuff is happening, and I'm devastated. And I had texted my co-parent earlier in the night, and I said, oh, ma! All caps. Ah, girls have lice. This is horrible. Oh, yeah, we had it like 5 or 6 times. Yeah, you just do some laundry. I'll do some here, and it's fine. You need to be panicking more. You need to be upset with me, and this is bad news, bears. So all of that is to say that the first time, this is the first time that's happened. I didn't understand it. And the good news is that I've had lots of practice since then to make it normal. We got it 5 more times. So by now, I'm like, listen, it is what it is. I can do a load of laundry. They still don't have their stuffed animals back. I just keep them in plastic bags. I'm not taking any chances. It's going to come back. So far, the slogan has stood so far in this semester, in this academic year, since they started 3rd and 1st grade. We are lice-free in 2013. That's my slogan. That's what I'm going to stick with. So that's the hope. And so all of that is to say, what the heck does that have to do with social justice? And here's what I think it has to do with it, everything. Because if you think about what I just told you in my everyday life story about how I literally panicked about this situation at my house, there were themes of identity throughout all of that. Themes of identity that influenced the choices I made, the reactions that I had, and that social identity is present in even the most ridiculous, laughable, horrific stories. And here are the themes that came up. Social class. So I grew up working class. Paying $600 for some hair product was unfathomable to me. I just couldn't do it. I could have afforded it. I could have done it with my co-parent. But I just couldn't physically pay that much money for some hair product. That wasn't my fault. I didn't put the bugs in the girl's hair. It wasn't my fault. Like the principle of the matter was that. Same thing for $300. Issues of race and ethnicity. I mean, again, black people don't get lice, yo. And here's the thing that they talk about. It's because of the hostile environment that lice can't withstand. And as the amount of product that I have to put in my hair to keep it looking fabulously cute is apparently a hostile environment for lice, but not enough hostility for my children. I need them to be more hostile when they grow up. So issues of race and the nonchalance of my co-parents, the panic from my grandmother, the stuff around gender when I completely shamed myself thinking I had done something wrong as a parent, that people were coming to collect me and my children because I had done and let this happen. That's that stuff around how we have this image of perfection that we should have around womanhood and motherhood and all of that stuff. And then age. My grandmother the respect that I gave her, because she just needed to yell at me for like 20 minutes and tell me that I was a dirty birdie, and that was what was going on. And so all of those things were in that story, because social identity is a part of life all the time, every day, in the small stuff and in the big stuff. Every single day, identity shows up. And so what do I think about that? I think that's the future of social justice, is that we need to treat it like that. It needs to be something that's commonplace, something that becomes like this. Every day, this morning, you walked out of your house and you got dressed based off of what? The fact that it's 26 degrees outside. I'm a little salty about that. But if we treated identity like the weather, if we checked it often and acted accordingly, that's the kind of thing that we could do better. I was talking with my friend Marcus the other day, and he said, we were talking about some stuff that I was probably salty about, and I was venting to him, and as I often do, I sit right outside of his office, so when I'm mad, and he has M&Ms, so I just go in there and I eat and I yell. And I said, Marcus, and I'm up in arms about something, and he says, well, Trey, I just think it's different for folks like you. You focus on diversity all the time. It's really hard to focus on it when I have crisis and when I have administrivia and when I have supervision and when I have unexpected things that come up. And I said, yeah, it's a side. Yeah, I could see how that could be hard, but what if it just went over everything? What if identity were just a blanket we threw everything over? And what if it became like the weather? That everything that we do, we checked in with identity. That throughout the day, and when I think about this, and of course I'm just going to rock this metaphor until the end, until they pull me off the stage with the hook. Think about it this way. I have my favorite season. I love summer. It's hot. Think about that relating to identity. There are the salient identities that I hold that are very easy for me to talk about. The fact that I'm a queer woman of color. I live in those identities. I show up in the world on that. On a daily basis, the world treats me as such. Those are the things that I would call salient, the ones that are most prominent in my life. The seasons that I don't like, winter, cold, right now, are the things that I don't feel comfortable with. That's my privilege around being a US citizen. The fact that I live in a country that affords me things that I just have privilege no matter where I go. That there is a power of this government and of this citizenship that travels with me wherever I go. That I have ability, that I'm able to go on a run and think really brilliant things that I can't remember, but that I'm able to go on a run. And that I don't struggle with mental health. That's not something that's in my reality. It's not my season. But guess what? We experience all four, all the time. We're going to get to the ones that are uncomfortable. We've got to do the work there, and we've got to do the work that's in our wheelhouse. That's what the future of social justice is. That's what we've got to do. It has got to become like checking the weather. It would be great if there were an app for that. And if I invent it, I'll give a whole bunch of money for the Capitol campaign, right? So we will be there for one day, and think about how technology has moved us with checking the weather. Back in the day, you had a fur on and you kind of went, it's whatever it is. Now we have forecasters and Doppler and tornadoes, and we have things that tell us F5 and class this, and that, and is coming. We have the technology that tells us what the weather's going to be like. Think about it if we committed that kind of thing to identity work. And if we implemented it into everything that we chose. And so that's what I want to suggest, that that's the future. Because there's a reason why we should do it, and I'll tell you why. That's Jacqueline. She's the aforementioned Game of Thrones head. This is her doing a karate chop kick, and I thought it was so appropriate because right now, Jacqueline is obsessed with this movie called Amazon Warriors. We watch a lot of martial arts movies, and Netflix is fantastic, and we just pick a martial arts movie and we decide if we like it in the first 10 minutes. Amazon Warriors is about a group of women, a clan of women, who literally save China. They save China. And Jacqueline has watched it. We saw it. So remember, they spend half the time at their dad's house. So in the past week, we've watched that movie 7 times. We've done some back-to-backs, clearly. And I said to Jacqueline, why do you love this movie so much? Mommy, you get to wear pink and kick butt. She's a feminist already. She's talking about gender already. She's noticing the power of women already, in a world where she's being told that she is everything but. This is Jillian. Jillian is very, very sensitive and very, very thoughtful. This is my favorite photo of her in the world. This is exactly who she is. She is thoughtful and quiet and sensitive and beautiful and kind. And Jilly asked me, we went to the 40th anniversary of the Rosa Parks Lounge, the part of the DPE 40th celebration, and she was there and we talked about Rosa Parks and she learned about it in school, and the UMETC did this great play on it. And it reminded me of a conversation she had asked me a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Mommy, where would they recommend that I sit on the bus if it was the time of Rosa Parks?" I said, "Well, sweetie, back at that time, you would probably be in the back, because even though you're half daddy and half mommy, even if you had a little bit, you'd be in the back." She thought about it for a minute and she said, "Okay, so I would be with you." And I said, "Yep, we'd probably be sitting together." "Well, where would daddy sit?" And I said, "Well, he would probably be in the front, even though he would really want to be with me. But that brings up a bigger question. It wasn't even legal for daddy and I to be married at that time." Well, I don't like that. And so we then proceeded to have a conversation about how times change and race relations happen. She's 8. It is not because I come home talking to her about racial power and privilege. I try. But she's also 8. She notices things. She's checking her identity like the weather. Something happened today, it makes her think about it, and she asked about it. She is coming in 10 years. She is the future of social justice education. Jacqueline, God help us, will be here in 12 years. She is bringing all of her feminist pinkness in her world, and she's landing in your front door. Will you be ready to talk to her? I hope so. Thank you so much.